Soul cakes for the future. Dead. I heard this story from Veselka, who lived in Osolnica, an old Macedonian village. There were many houses standing in the village, but hers was the only one to light up at night. It is a remote village with no electricity or sewerage. There is a sole parish pump, but God only knows if the water is good to drink. The village is shrouded by God's veil, which keeps the world at bay. Entering from the east, one is greeted by a graveyard leading to a small church. There a lone head rose and sprinkled life among the 100 or so marble slabs. It's been a long while since I've spoken to anyone, son. I've come to dread the sound of my own voice, the old woman said. Once we arrived at her house, I could see the roof beams and cast on the floor the thin shards of light they let through. Making your way around was difficult as the floorboards were uneven and a few nail heads were sticking out. I've switched my bedroom twice, she said. The house had 4 rooms and a bathroom. Located on the floor below, an upright wooden ladder was the only way there. The old woman introduced herself as Petkovica, although originally under her father's roof, her name was Veselka. Her husband died on the same day their son was born. Everyone said it was a bad omen, her deep voice spoke. Following his death, he left her a chickpea roasting store. They were well off at the time, having their own trade. There was a school in the village as well. She named her son Trece, so he could live longer than his father. As the sun was setting, we set off for the graveyard. All but one were neglected, weeds growing through the cracks in the marble slabs. Her family's grave had 4 lots, 3 of which were covered, the 4th agap. We sat on the bench next to the lots. I may well be gone any day now. Will there be anyone to bury me? Who will fill my hole in the ground? Covering her tears, she held out soul cakes to commemorate the dead. There was some Turkish delight, halva and pumpkin pie as well. She picked up a bottle of homemade brandy from her bag and poured a short glass in front of her husband's slab. She passed me the glass and then lifted the bottle herself. We got up, she took up my hand and we started dancing around the graves. She told me we had to move clockwise so they could see us. Then she introduced me to them in song. Out of breath, she sat down and began weeping for their souls. She took off her scarf, let her hair down and hid her eyes. Then she covered her hair with the scarf again. We sat silently while she muttered to herself. She told me she was conversing with the souls of the dead. Today is their day off, in the kingdom of the dead. The sky had donned its freckled cloak, a sign it was time to head home. As we entered the room, she lit a kerosene lamp set on a rickety wooden table. This is how we entice the wandering souls. As if there was anyone ambling about, I wouldn't know myself, she chuckled. She settled on a table chair and I sat across. Her skin stretched as her lips moved. Oh, my son Traish. He didn't keep the promise given in his name, she began. It is an old custom, as God can often play deaf. One day Traish went out to play with his pal Krista. Not an hour went by, he came back teary-eyed. He didn't say a word. Then Krista was found with his head bashed beneath a rock that looked like the head of a fish. His parents came over to talk to Traish about what happened, but he kept on weeping and could not speak of what he saw. I never heard his voice again after that. Evil spreads quickly, son. By nightfall, everyone was saying how my dear Traish crushed Krista's head. Then the schoolmaster showed up at my door and asked me not to send my boy to school anymore. The old woman began to weep inconsolably, letting out heavy sighs. Not a few days gone, they brought him home to me cold. You don't have to carry on if it's hard for you, dear, I said. Swallowing her tears, she lifted her head and went on in sharper tones. Those evil peasants did it. No one confessed to his murder. Who could I complain to? The verdict on his life was already passed. While Traish lay dead in the other room, I went to the neighboring village to speak to a clairvoyant. She told me the truth. Even as I was walking in, she said, a heavy burden is upon you, dear. A mother to a murdered son, wife to a husband dead. A great evil is upon your doorstep. Ah, the ghost of your son is now upon me. The clairvoyant began to breathe heavily. I can see him running. Is he being chased? Then she fixed her stare and with a finger pointed straight at me began to draw near. A throng of men, women, and children are chasing after your boy, throwing stones. He falls. They catch up. They kick him while he is down. Move aside, someone yells out. He is holding a big rock in his hands, drops it straight onto his head. Before night fell, I went to speak to Mirko, the head of our village. I told him I knew they had killed my boy. He said, devil stole your boy's tongue. He killed Krista. So we said we best kill Traish to chase the devil away and save our village. They wouldn't even let me bury his body. They took him away wrapped in sheets, the vigil still not over. They said if they burned his body, the devil would let go and the village would be saved. They set him on fire in front of my own eyes. That disgusting smell aside, no sound was heard, not a creak from his charring body. I gathered his ashes with my hair, let down and moistened by my own tears. I wrapped it in a scarf and headed to the grave of his father and brother. With water from a clay jug, I bathed nude in his grave so I would leave all his ashes there and they could reunite in the next world. On the 40th day of his death, at the graveyard where his dust rested, I invited all the villagers to pray for his soul. The week before, I had gone to see the clairvoyant. To satisfy the Lord's justice, she said I needed to dole out soul cakes filed with quicksilver. In return for oxhide gloves and a vial of mercury, I gave her the chickpea roast. The old woman went to the cupboard and returned with a yellowed piece of paper. "Read this, son," she said. Quicksilver soul cakes. Ingredients: 2 pounds, shelled walnuts 2 pounds, cornstarch 2 pounds, sugar 1 pound, sultanas 200 milliliters. Quicksilver directions: roast kernels in oven briefly. Melt sugar in pan on medium heat, add cornstarch and mix until mixture is unified like halva. Remove from stove and mix continually, gradually adding roasted walnuts and sultanas. Let cool for 4 hours. Combine mixture and quicksilver in nylon bag. Mix thoroughly with oxide gloves. Bury nylon bag underground for 24 hours. Dig up nylon bag and shape soul cakes using oxide gloves. Makes 130 cakes. Note: pour quicksilver only after mixture has cooled. Do not heat mixture once quicksilver is added. As soon as I lifted my head from the page, she went on. At that time, the village numbered no more than 60 inhabitants. Fearing God's wrath, they all came to the memorial service. When the priest finished the service, I doled out soul cakes, 2 for everyone. Knowing they were all guilty, they gulped them down, seeking to make peace with Trich's soul. For the next year, I watched them bloat like frogs and pop like fleas. The last to die was Zivko, Mirko's brother. I went to his deathbed and confessed. Then I left him there to rot. I never buried him. Veselka finished her story. I could see weariness in her eyes, the faint morning light making her eyelids heavy. "Shall we rest, son?" "I'd like to, dear. Thank you." I fell asleep quickly. It was past noon when I woke up. The old woman was still in her bed, her palms clasped together on her belly. Angels had taken her above. I found some of her nice clothes. I bathed and dressed her. I held a vigil all by myself that night. Her last wish was to be buried next to her husband and their 2 children. The next morning, I took her to their lot. I lit a candle so she could find her way. Before I left the village, I visited every single house. I was looking for Zivko's. I found one that reeked as soon as I crossed the doorstep. As I walked inside, the smell was tearing at my nostrils. I came close to a room where I sensed the stench originated, but the stink was unbearable. I threw up and dared walk no further. If you set out to investigate Veselka's tale, it is the 4th house from the end of the village.